Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jellyfish Joining a Fan Channel. You jelly folk out there, I am Pablo, and this is the first standalone interview since the highly successful Jellyfest from last year, the thing that nearly killed me, to the point where I took about 7 months off, not doing anything related to the channel. And I thought, well, if I'm going to return, if I'm going to come back, I've got to do something. I've got to interview someone who just completely blows me away. It's got to be important enough. It's got to be life-changing enough to make me want to return to doing interviews again, because it's I run out of things to say quite quickly, as you may have found out. When I was interviewing everyone last time, I was asking the same questions over and over again. But this will not happen here because there is so much stuff to talk about with the one and only, the lead singer and guitarist of the band Shad, who have recently worked with Lickerish Quartet, and there are other connections involved with Shad that completely blew me away. Worlds have collided. I have with me Matthew Shad. Hello.
Hey, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
I'm good. Yeah, that was a rambly intro there, but I'm one take Pablo. That's what they call me. No one calls me that.
Looking forward to it.
So where are you calling from today?
This is Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in the USA.
Oh, bet the weather's nicer there than it is here.
80 degrees right now.
Is that nice? Is that nice, or is that too much?
No, it's I was born and raised down here, so you get used to it. I love the cold weather though. We get a couple weeks a year,
Well, so with Shad, before we get into everything, and obviously your first EP came out in last year in April. So I'm guessing you were recording through the pandemic. Was it all remote recording, or were you able to get together too much?
It was a little bit of everything. I met Bob St. John, the producer, who did, we were just talking about Three Sides before we started. We started in 2019 recording a couple singles with K-Fig and everything, and got those done. And then we decided to make an EP out of it. So we wanted to record 3 more. So then we finished recording the drums, the bass, and the harmonies for everything in February of 2020, right before lockdown. And then once lockdown hit, of course, everything stopped. And it was the longest wait ever because, I had these amazing tracks from K-Fig on these 3 new tunes. And, we decided to make a 5-song EP. And I had these killer harmonies. Everything's done except I had to do all the guitar work, all the lead vocals, and I couldn't get in the studio, obviously, because we're all home and wiping down groceries and all that stuff. So, it was a long wait going all the way through that year. And it wasn't really till December that I got back, in the studio. So it was almost a year. But it was worth it.
So during that time, though, what would be, I guess, considered downtime? Did that give you more chance to write a lot more? It certainly did with me. You've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, well, that led to wanting to collaborate with TLQ and I know I wanted a ballad on the full album. Our goal this year is to finish the album with 4 more tracks. This upcoming single will be song number 6. So it was always a dream of mine to work with Roger and those guys. So we put those wheels into motion, and they had their own group of things to work on as well. So all that stuff was going. Plus, just working on parts. Even though I wasn't in the studio, I still worked on the tracks that I had. And just kind of fine-tune what I wanted to do when I could go back in the studio. There's lots of guitar on there, lots of guitar harmonies, and what I wanted to do with the lead vocals and stuff. But we put a lot into it. Yeah.
as a Queen fan, guitar harmonies, you've sold me there. And I thought I came up with the phrase guitarmonies. I don't know if I have or not. If I have, I'm copywriting it right now. I'm literally drawing this.
I've actually never heard guitar harmonies. Guitarmonies?
Guitarmonies. There you go. So I'm copywriting it. It's going to be my ticket to Rich, and buy the t-shirts at wherever. At Etsy. I'll make some Etsy t-shirts. There we go. So being in Florida, so I'm guessing you always lived in Florida, and what was the music scene like around there growing up? But was it easy to find bands and musicians to work with, etc.?
Yeah, I was born in Miami. I grew up down here, did the high school band thing, and then and then in the Marilyn Manson era of things is when Shad was born. It was an interesting time to be at the time a trio, singing 3-part harmonies, doing King's X and Jellyfish type of things. and on the flip side, there's like Marilyn Manson spilling cow blood on a naked girl at a club with 500 people there. So it was a very big time for original music. There were 25 clubs down here between the southern and northern points of the scene, where you can go to all these clubs and play original music, and it was just it was cool. This is like right when the internet was starting.
Yeah.
So
and then that's the thing with Jellyfish as well, that unless you are a hardcore fan, when you read reviews of, say, Spilt Milk or Belly Button, it's always, it's the Beatles mixed with Queen. But Jellyfish was so much more than that. And listening to the EP that you released as well, there's so much going on in there as well. Because you've got the big stadium rock sound, you've got changes in tempos, you've got the wild guitar solos, you've got an amazing drum sound. I mean, never mind the playing, the drum sound is incredible. So what influenced you production wise when you first started writing?
Well, I mean, how much time do you got? I could talk about this forever. Well, first of all, thank you for listening. And also, before I forget, I want to thank my friend Lance for posting on your page that kind of started all this. He turned me on to your page, and as a lifelong Jellyfish fan, it's cool to see all these posts from other people, and hearing covers of tunes I've known for so long by other artists. Of course you see them every now and then on YouTube, but to have a dedicated page like this to keep the Jelly flag flying, it's pretty cool. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks again to Lance for making all this happen. So yeah, first of all, the drum sound, the production, working with Bob St. John is a complete life-changing thing for me. He really took such great care of all this. And, we met because of 3 sides to every story. I messaged him because we had a mutual friend. I thought he lived in Boston. So I was just saying, hi, hey, we're friends with so-and-so. I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of 3 sides. And, that album means a lot to me. And especially the last part of that album, if you love Spilt Milk, it's not the same, but it's that same feeling of epic. I don't know how to describe it. Just takes you on a journey, kind of like on Abbey Road at the end, same kind of thing. So we ended up talking, and he's like, oh, we should you should send me one of your songs. I'm like, it wasn't my original intention to send him anything. So I sent him a single that I worked on and signed off. And then the next morning I woke up and there's this nice paragraph like, hey, I love the drums on this and the guitar work and the harmonies. And he's like, we should have lunch. And I'm like, well, I'm in Florida. I figured Extreme's from Boston, he's from Boston. I'm like, I don't think we could really do lunch. He's like, no. And it ended up, he lives 5 minutes from me, So that was a shock, and I drove by his place for a decade. So we ended up meeting, and he's like, let's work together. And then he brought K-Fig in as the drummer, and which was, I'm like, how's that gonna work? And he's like, well, I'll send him your demos and see what he says. And next thing I know, Kevin's calling me on my cell phone 2 days later. Hey, I love your voice. You know, let's make some music. And yeah, the production wise, like it meant so much to me because, you know, coming up through different bands and different years and different technologies, to have my music sound like the records I listened to, like the vocal sound, the drum sound. And, you know, we used real amps in a room with a microphone on the cabinet, cranking it up the way it should be. You know, it's and I love all the digital stuff too. And, you know, we work with analog and digital, but it's just for me, like on a personal level, like to hear it in such a way, it was the best. Sorry for the dogs making noise.
As soon as you said that, my cat just walked into the room. Sonny makes regular appearances on these videos, so yeah, I totally understand it. What kind of dog?
Just to touch base really quick on the Marilyn Manson era of things, back when Shad started, like we you know, when Marilyn Manson was flyering cars in Fort Lauderdale, like we were flyering cars too. And live, we would cover like Glutton of Sympathy. Like if we did an acoustic gig, we covered Glutton, and we covered Baby's Coming Back. And we also covered Dream Theater. Like, you know, like it just showed you know, our various interests and stuff. I mean, it's cool like later on to see like Mike Portnoy always like wearing his Jellyfish shirt, you know, from Dream Theater. So it's always cool to see other musicians, you know, nod to Jelly, you know.
Absolutely. You've got a yappy dog.
Yeah, every time there's an Amazon guy out there. The Amazon world, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but you never work with pets. Like my cat's just peed, and I'm hoping the microphone hasn't picked that up. But if it has, that's a lovely little extra for people to to enjoy. Sonny, go away. But again, this is done in real time. This is one take, so this is how it should be. So before we start talking about more about Shad and about Jellyfish and Lickerish Quartet, I want to chat a little about Extreme, because it was kind of a weird thing for me with Extreme. I saw them at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. That was the first time I'd saw them, and Gary sang Hammer to Fall, and they did the Queen medley, but they didn't, on the video, More Than Words is cut out for whatever reason. So the first time I heard More Than Words was by some Irish boy band, and I didn't know it was an Extreme. I mean, it didn't even occur to me, and I was like, you know what? I don't like this band, but like I love this song, so I want to find out who originally did it. And then I found Get the Funk Out on some rock compilation, and I was like, oh, it's that band from the tribute concert, and you know, it all came together like that. And then Porno Graffiti is incredible, but Three Sides to Every Story. I got to tell Nuno this. I mean, I tell him this every blue moon that I bump into him, but Seven Sundays, the arrangement on that song, with the backing vocals and everything, it was almost like a religious experience listening to that song.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and just the arrangements of it, and I mean, because they recorded it, the orchestra at Abbey Road the day after the tribute concert, didn't they? And I was able to.
I'm not sure about all. I know they went to Abbey Road, obviously for you know, the end section of all that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. If you only know Extreme as the More Than Words band, you're missing out on so much stuff. Or even just the singles, like, you know, even if you just know Get the Funk Out or Decadence Dance or whatever, you know, you need to listen to Three Sides and all the other stuff as well. They're so diverse.
Yeah, I love it all. Obviously, I'm a fan of hard rock and all that stuff. Melodic rock. Three Sides, start to finish, is just unbelievable. It's definitely like top 10 for me. And you know, when I say top 10, I'm not talking about like Abbey Road and Dark Side of the Moon and you know, Zeppelin 4. I'm talking about like, you know, my top 10. You know, and like Spilled Milk obviously is in there, and Three Sides. You know, but yeah, it's a brilliant record. And you know, working with Saint, you know, we've had many conversations about More Than Words and you know, Seven Sundays, Tragic Comic, all that stuff. and it's always a thrill because like I'm such a fan. And I asked him, I'm like, on three sides, was Jellyfish in the conversation? Like, did Nuno and Gary ever, did they talk about Jellyfish? Were they aware of it? He's like, yeah, everyone was aware of like Spilled Milk and all that stuff. So that was cool just to hear that,
That
appreciation for everything,
Yeah, that's really cool because I mean I wasn't there at the time, so I don't really know even now the impact that Jellyfish had on the music industry at the time in terms of their contemporaries at the time. I mean, since then, they're the musician's favorite band, and you hear bands like The Feeling or McFly, these like big chart successful bands who will reference Jellyfish as an influence. But it's amazing to hear that like back then people were taking notice back then.
And just with those two records, I mean, that speaks volumes too. And there's I would go to every used CD store and I would buy every copy of Spilled Milk or Belly Button all through the 90s. Like, just so like if I met someone or a friend or whatever, I'm like, I wanted to be able to give them a copy. Like, I can't just leave it there for $3, in the bargain basement, So I have like, 10 copies of each of them, I would give them out. But when I first got Belly Button, it was such a breath of fresh air. Because I love hard rock and blues and metal and like all these different guitar, genres. But I grew up on Motown and the Beatles catalog with my parents, and hearing Belly Button was such a sonic awakening. Is because sometimes you want to break from all the all the everything, and it's and the songs were so good, and the harmonies and everything. And then when you get to Spilled Milk, and even like Mix Magazine would do write-ups on that album and how it impacted audio heads and audio files. But yeah, two albums, and they're still getting new fans all the time. I'm always telling, like, not a month goes by where I'm not telling someone about the Lickerish Quartet. I'm like, this is your new favorite band. You got to hear these songs. And it really did pick up where Spilled Milk left off, I think. And like every song is so good. And these three guys are just some of the best,
Yeah, Snolly Gostagoon. I mean, it's one of the heaviest songs that I've heard in a good long while. But the complexity of it's the same with Fadoodle as well, that the backing vocals are so important because they offer like a counter melody, and because there is so much melody going on that one lead vocal can't sing it all, so you do need just these counter rhythms or counter harmony stuff. And
Spaceship, Bluebird, like every song is awesome, and a total dream to work with them. It's I wish I had a sample of the song to show you now, but it's currently being mixed this week. We didn't want to rush it, and Bob St. John has a lot of worldwide clients and a lot of mixing to do, and he wants to just focus on this, so we waited till he could really concentrate on it. Didn't want to rush anything, and it's going to be worth the wait. It's quite something. It's Shad, but it's definitely equal parts the Lickerish Quartet. It's a song I wrote a while ago, but Roger and the guys really breathed a new life into it for me. It inspired a lot of different changes in the instrumental makeup of everything. It's the only ballad that'll be on the full album. It's acoustic based, and there's fretless bass. There's some organ on it. There's a lot of percussion. K-Fig did a killer drum track, and then a friend of mine, Dan, did like triangle and castanets and shakers and tambourine and all the little jelly things. I'm like, give me a small, middle, and large, and like we'll take from what you play, and it really was warranted. And in talking with Roger, Roger couldn't have been nicer and such a sweet guy. Like he put such care into it. We spoke at length about what I wanted for the song, and I'm like, I've heard your other collaborations with different artists, and like, I want it all, you know. Like I want. And I was quoting, and it's hard not to geek out. I'm talking to one of my heroes here, and it's Roger Joseph Manning Jr. I have his solo albums, and I have all this stuff, and I was quoting. I'm like, oh, on the Quickening, you do this thing like this, and they're like, oh, on I Want to Stay Home, you got this, and on Bluebirds Blues, like I'm like, this would be cool here. And like he's like write everything down on the lyric sheet, like your dream, and he's like, I'll use that as a jumping off point. And then he did his magic, and it I knew it would be awesome, and I knew it would be better than I thought. But my mouth was literally hanging open. Like eventually through the pandemic, when I finally, it was pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. When I finally got everything back, my mouth fell open. I was like, just chills. If I'm being honest, a few tears, and it was it means a lot on a lot of different levels. It's not like I got to. It's not like I was collaborating with like, the keyboardist from One Direction or something like that. These guys are like some of my heroes.
Yeah.
And the fact that he took such care of it, and Tim and Eric had such nice things to say, and they went all out. Like wait till you hear it. It's just unmistakably, TLQ, all the Jelly stuff I've ever loved. And the oohs and the ahs and the wahs and everything. And, even stuff like, I told Roger, it's always been a dream of mine to like harmonize with you, like on a verse of a song, like you doing this or that. And he, on the second verse of the song is called Sad But True. On the second verse, he's harmonizing with me. And it sounds like we're in the same room. Like he studied my guide vocal, and he's so good at what he does. I was really just in awe, like genuinely, like just totally blown away. It sounds cliche, but it's really a dream. So I can't wait for this mix and to go through the revisions and get it out there. We're hoping by the end of April,
For the single, because the album A Cruel Void is, I'm guessing, coming out much later in the year, because you've still got a few more songs to record.
Right. We actually it's early, but we have the album art for the album's going to be called A Cruel Void, and hopefully 10 songs. We have 4 to go, but we're fully concentrating just on the single for right now, and we'll see.
So is your entire band playing on the song with Lickerish Quartet, or did someone have to take a back seat, or because
that's a great question. No, so K-Fig did his drum track, and Saxon played acoustic guitar, Ryan played fretless bass, I did acoustic guitar. There's a little acoustic guitar harmony a la Jason on the first album, Mr. Faulkner. Mm-hmm. I wanted to show my how they were an inspiration, and still keeping true to the song. And it was really easy to do. So yeah, the only thing the band didn't do is sing harmony. And even though we sing harmonies all over the place on the 5 EP, this is, in St. John's, like, we're featuring TLQ. They have to do all of it, so, and it just makes sense. So it's just my voice and TLQ's, and it's really a thrill to hear it together too.
Does Eric take the high end? Is he always excellently does?
There's so much on there, but you'll hear it all. There's some spots, obviously there's the spot with Roger and me, and then there's all of them everywhere. Like when I say they didn't hold back, it's everything I ever imagined. But yeah, there's a spot with Eric, and a spot with Tim, where there's like 2-part harmonies, like with yeah, I'm excited for fans of Jelly to hear it, and TLQ and all that. It's So I can, I try not to bug St. John too much. There's a fine line between being persistent and pushy. Patience is the word. We're almost there. But it'll definitely be worth it.
That's wonderful. And Tim is such a almost a lyrical bass player. You can, because with his melodies, you can sing along to them, and you could add lyrics to them if you wanted to. But he's such an expressive bass player, and he doesn't mind going wherever he needs to go on the fret to, on the neck to, create that melody. It doesn't necessarily have to be low end or anything like that.
Yeah,
so him and K-Fig together are going to be incredible, I think.
No. Tim didn't play bass on it.
Oh, did he not? Okay, sorry.
My bassist Ryan played on it. No, TLQ just did all the harmonies.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I won't say no to a collaboration later on. But no, I love all Tim's. I love the Umajet stuff. Like it's such good material and such it's part of my library.
Yeah.
All of it too. Like the Grays, Imperial Drag, Jelly, Umajets. Like there's so much Jelly stuff out there for those who want it.
Yeah, Umajets was arrangement wise even more than the Jellyfish albums. Was Demolition was the album that influenced me most as a songwriter, and as an arranger. Even, like I say, even more than, because I can't do Spilt Milk. I don't have the budget, but I can at least sort of take little bits and appropriate them, and I love it's kind of hard to someone called it sun-drenched pop, and that is what Umajets are. And Rob's very much missed as well. That was a very sad day. And if you haven't checked it, for anyone listening to this who haven't checked out Umajets, you really, really must. The songs are on YouTube; they're available to listen to. But so you did get to see Jellyfish, and I'm eternally jealous of anyone who did get to see Jellyfish.
I saw them twice. Listen, you're talking to a guy like I covered their songs. Like I'm a true fan. I got the vinyl. I got the CD singles of New Mistake. Like I'm with you. So yeah, the first time was in a club called Revolution in Fort Lauderdale. They played it on the outside stage. So like you're watching Spilled Milk, and you have the Fort Lauderdale skyline in the background, and it was unbelievable. I think they brought all their own sound stuff. It sounded incredible. It sounded like you had headphones on. And,
right.
And I'm sitting there with my friend Lance, actually, like during All's Forgiven, when the acapella break, I'm like conducting, I'm like, and it was just such a thrill, and like all the fans were just so excited to see them, and I just read this a couple months ago somewhere. It might have been on your site. It might have been somewhere else. It might have been a Wikipedia thing that someone sent me. But the second time I saw them, they opened for Tears for Fears at the Broward County Fair. It was another outside gig. And I read that was the final performance of Jellyfish. I don't know if that's true, because I'm not a historian.
It's possible. I have a friend called Ryan who's on the Jellyfish page, and he is from Florida as well. And he said that he was at that gig, and he believes that was the final gig. So
yeah, and I remember that vividly as well. And Tears for Fears sounded great. But yeah, seeing Jelly in a bigger setting, that was a bigger show than the club show. The club one, when it was just them, playing everything they wanted the whole night, was really quite something.
Were there any differences between seeing them in the small venue and the big venue? I mean, did it sound bigger? Because obviously you have it was Shalom on with them on tour, I believe, and he is a master, and and I'm sure he can adapt to any venue that he works in.
It was definitely a few Sundays ago, but I do remember I do remember that the Fort Lauderdale show was, I mean, first of all, the crowd is all jelly heads. It's all fans, and I think they brought their own, sound system with them. So like they were very meticulous with the sound. They probably had less control on the Tears for Fears tour, you know.
Yeah.
And it was it's a county fair and it's bleachers, and you know, not everyone there even knew who they were. So it was a different show, but they still sounded incredible. And I still remember just cherishing every tune that they played. But you know, any band you see in a small setting, it's going to be the coolest, you know.
Absolutely. Did Imperial Drag ever pass through?
Not in my path. I'm sure they probably did. But Kevin K-Fig, our drummer, was a fan of that record too. So that was cool that, you know, he had that connection with them. So.
Nice. Like I love, like, Shad, to me it blew my mind when you know, you mentioned that K-Fig was in the band, because I mean, anytime two worlds connect like that, and it very rarely happens for me, so I think it blew a few people's minds.
I think for me too, like just this new single bringing in, you know, K-Fig and the Lickerish Quartet, and I got St. John. It's like a dream come true. Like I can't wait for you all to hear it. Plus, it's one of my favorite lyrics I've ever done. It's just a reflective song, you know, almost a philosophical kind of tune. But yeah, man, like it means a lot on a lot of different levels to have these particular people all part of it, and bring my friend Dan in, like playing percussion. Like, you know, we got into Jellyfish together at the same time, pretty much. I remember on Belly Button, like I couldn't wait to tell my friends about that record, and I'm like, you got to hear this. You're gonna love this, you know. And all these years later, to work with your heroes, and I knew I wouldn't be disappointed with anything, because like I know they're brilliant, but for it to enhance everything so much, and like, you know, sometimes you collaborate with different people, and some people just dial it in and they just check the box, and you know, here you go. But man, like, I can't tell you, Roger, like he's like, thanks for the vocal workout. Like when he needed notes back, he's like, you know, his enthusiasm for it really showed, and the creativity. There were parts that I never thought of, and you know, I don't have it to play with right now, but like, you know, on the bridge, like there's nothing in the first part, and like my friend was like, oh, I wish they would have done something there, and then all of a sudden they come in and it's like the best thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, I know, you know. And so like listening to it for the first time, like, because St. John just sent me the track with only the harmonies, like no lead, no scratch vocal, no anything. I'm like, I want to release it just like this. It's like my own little stack of tracks, you know. And I can't tell you how many times I just listened to just the harmonies. I'm like, I wish I could just really. I'm like, do I have to sing on this? Like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to mess this up. You know, it's it was just awesome, and he definitely used his catalog of everything, and there's parts that he composed that, you know, never in a million years would I come up with. It was really something. So
That's
to send you the link right away when it's done.
Yeah, please do. And do check out Shad's first EP as well. A link will be below the video, along with all corresponding social media accounts. And the thing is, if you've seen Extreme play with K-Fig, and you know what he looks like when he drums, how wild he is, and how that drum face, and he's just, you know, it feels, I mean, he's so tight, but he's so kind of like loose with it as well. It's not like he's not a robot. Yeah, there's so much feeling in there, and if you can imagine that, you can imagine the kind of drumming that's on the EP. Because I mean, I could just picture K-Fig playing to those songs.
There's one video we put up a couple months ago of him in the studio tracking our song "The Little," and you can see him. You can see his swagger and his pocket and his focus too. Like, you know, when you're in the studio and like, you know, you have to get the drums done that day or the next day. Like, you don't. It's not like we have 4 or 5 months in the studio like people used to have back in the day. you got a day or two. And it's on the Shad Facebook page. It's on the there's a clip on the Instagram as well. But it's just K-Fig tracking with his phones on it, and his focus is undeniable. His pocket is so strong, and it's been awesome having him just be part of it and contributing. And I'm like, hey, could you do this? And he's like, yeah, I could do that. I'm like, do that. And it's a thrill,
That's amazing. So the
and also, with St. John and him, and like, it's never lost on me. Like when we were doing the EP, believe me, like it's never lost on me that, St. John did Porno Graffiti, and like, I'm in the Nuno chair. Like I'm next to him, and back in 2019, like when we first started working together, like I wouldn't say I was nervous. I was just like always, because we became fast friends, and he really believed in the project and the band and the songs, and we went through like a catalog of tunes I had, and he's like, oh, I don't think this one, but this one I get it, and being in the chair, like, Nuno sat next to him doing the Get the Funk Out solo. Like it's a little intimidating, and it was kind of a full circle moment for me too, like writing and recording my whole life, and finally at this moment with him, and like I'm tracking the solo for the song called Belittle, and all the while thinking I'm in the Nuno chair. And I didn't call it the Nuno chair till like a year later, and I told him about that. But he saw I was getting stuck. I was like halfway through it, and he saw I was getting stuck on a part, and I was like, dude, like, I'm not Nuno. I'm not, And he's like, listen, he's like, when you were younger, you wanted to do this. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, who are your players that you love? I'm like, oh, obviously, like Van Halen and Nuno and Red Beach and Vito Bratta and all these guys, Adam Holland from Valentine, all these players that like I look to, Gary Moore, everybody. And he's like, it's like, well, just play. It's like, oh, I'm like, I'm not one of these guys. He's like, no. He's like, you're just not famous. He's like, you are one of those guys. And like when he said that, like it was like I heard the Rocky music, and I'm like, let's go, and then like it was like, I don't know, all the jitters were gone, and I just played, and just to have someone of that caliber. He's got Grammys, like he's worked with Steven Tyler and like Steve Perry and like Elton John on the Collective Soul record he did. Like, this he's done it all. He was there at the Queen tribute concert, on the side of the stage with Extreme. Like he's been there since the beginning with that band. But he did Duran Duran. He's done so much, and for him to like just be behind me and believe in my abilities, like it's honestly life-changing. Like it was one of the biggest days for me, just finishing that and having him, be there. And then fast forward to the TLQ stuff, he got it before I could get to it. Like we both got the email with the link.
Yeah.
And I was tied up. I couldn't get to it for a couple hours. And he's sending me these texts, and he's like, these vocals from the Lickerish Quartet will leave you both inspired and in awe. And then like 20 minutes later, he sends me another text, like, these are some of the best harmonies I've ever heard in my life. And I'm like, oh my God. But I'm still like an hour away from like being able to hear it. He's like, I'm pretty jaded in this business, but like these vocals are some of the best ever. And he's just teasing me with it. And continuing the ongoing relationship we have as producer and artist, and bringing in TLQ and doing all this stuff. It's very motivating, very inspirational, and it's a dream come true. And like looking forward to also like showing the Shad, camp, another side too. Like it's not all full throttle distortion and hard rock and melodic rock. Like this is a ballad, and ballads can be tricky, with certain bands, like it's a totally different vibe, but at the same time, it really fits with what we're about, so.
That's great. I mean, in the EP, like you say, there's a lot of heaviness on there, but there's great riffs, there's really intelligent chord sequences, there's great melody and stuff like that. And if that's obviously a taster for what's going to come on the album. So and the fact that you have guys like Lickerish Quartet and Bob St. John, it shows that your work is not, for those who haven't heard it yet, is not one dimensional. There's a lot of aspects to your writing and arrangement and stuff like that. So and people shouldn't forget that this is like a seal of approval from like our favorite musicians in the world, being a Jellyfish YouTube channel. So you must check out the EP and the album, which we will keep everyone updated with as the time draws nearer, especially the single Sad But True, which will be on the album A Cruel Void. And we've got to get you back on as well, because I feel like we've only scratched the surface of what we can talk about, because we've got to talk more about just strictly you as well, because again, with this being a Jellyfish channel, and Extreme, it's hard not to want to talk about those things. But do you have a favorite guitar? Is it one of the ones? Is it one of the ones behind you, or?
Yeah, I have a bunch. On the EP I used this guy here. That's Gary. His name is Gary. They all have names. This is that's Mufasa. That's Gary. And that's Phil. It's a Phil Collins Def Leppard model there. This is Richie. That's after Richie Sambora. That's he signed that guitar. I got to play with Bon Jovi once back in 2000. And got to play Wanted Dead or Alive, and Richie signed that guitar. But no, I have recently I got a guitar endorsement from this company called Landon, and it's
pretty.
And this is my new favorite, and I have 4 of them now, and I'll be using these exclusively in the studio for the next tracks. And yeah, this one's cool. It's like it's a Strat body, but it's for all of you guitar heads. It's obviously has tele controls, and it's I haven't put it down since I have it. I got it. But yeah, it's nice to drive an endorsement after a few days of playing. But awesome guitar. They look great. They sound incredible, and they play really easy. But I like all guitars. I'm not a Les Paul or a Strat guy. Like, you can like it all, so.
That's great.
Thank you for listening to the EP. That means a lot. You always wonder who's out there listening. You get updates from Apple Music or Spotify, and like, people from this city are listening, and from this city, and but it's always cool to hear any listeners' reaction and feedback to it. So I greatly appreciate that, as does the band. And I'm sure I'll let St. John know that you mentioned his drum sounds, because we worked so hard on that. Well, he did. I just enjoyed the result.
It's a wonderful thing. I mean, so sorry.
No, sorry. I was saying we mastered it too at Sterling Sound in Nashville, and an engineer named Ted Jensen, and he's a mastering engineer. And this guy, he worked on, Billy Joel, Stranger, the Stones. He did Hotel California. Everything from like Alice in Chains to Dave Matthews Band, Green Day, GNR. He's mastered these records. So when it came time for mastering, St. John's like, we should go all the way with this, and let's use Sterling Sound and Ted Jensen. I've used him before, and it's that little finishing touch. The mix is, from a rough demo to a mix is the most gigantic leap in sound. It sounds nothing like it did. But then when you get the master, it even goes up another notch when you're not sure it could. And so the production side on his end, I just wanted him to be proud of the record. I wanted K-Fig to be proud of it, like, to the way it sounded, like the sonic quality of it, the drum sounds, and of course the songwriting, the performances, and all that good stuff. But yeah, 4 more to go.
You're living your dream and you're doing it properly as well. So would it be before we wrap up, and it's been a pleasure to chat and meet you. It's one of the great things about this group that I've been able to chat with so many incredible musicians and discover musicians, and I love that this page exists, and and that it's still thriving after 10 years as well. So would it be safe to say that a vinyl release, and may there be gigs?
Well, we did a 7-inch for the first 2 songs, because back in 2019, we finished Full and Belittle, and one side is Full, one side's Belittle. I will send you a vinyl 7-inch.
This is the other reason why I do interviews for freebies as well. So
I hear you. But it's quite the process to do that. We mastered it specifically for vinyl for that. Yeah. I don't know if we would do it just, it all depends on logistics and financials and all that. Like, although I love a 7-inch of just Sad But True with the Lickerish Quartet, we're probably going to wait till the full album is done. And then I know I'm going to want to do a short run of vinyl for that. Maybe some blue vinyl, some of the artwork. We'll release the artwork eventually, maybe this spring or summer. But some of the artwork has some blue in it, so I'm like, pulling the vinyl out. If it was also blue, that'd be cool. But I'll shoot that over to you, man.
Wonderful. Oh well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So, where can everyone find Matthew Shad, and where can people find the band Shad?
Well, we're on everything. There's a link tree. Maybe you could post that. It's linktree.com/shadband, and that'll give you all the links to 5 on Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music and YouTube and all that. And then all our socials are on there as well. On Instagram, I'm under Sterling Road, STIRLING. But shad.band is the Insta. All the links are on the link tree. So if you just put that up, that's the easiest. Yeah,
Linktree. I didn't know about these until you showed me. So this is going to come in very handy for a few things I'm doing.
Before that, we're all cut and paste like a million links, because you want everyone to find everything. And now you can just put that up, and if you want to share the Amazon link, it's there. The Spotify link, it's there, and YouTube and all that stuff. But I'm glad to introduce you to that.
Yes. Well, thank you again for taking some time out to chat about all things Shad, and we will definitely do this again closer to the release of the single and the album as well. And
that would be amazing. That would be amazing. And maybe we can get St. John involved, and we could do a dual interview, talk about the production and stuff.
Well, it color me excited about that. So, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this interview, the first return interview on the Jellyfish Joining a Fan channel. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat with the one and only Matthew Shad, and we will see you all.
Everybody.
We will see you all next time.
All right, take care. Be well.